The candlelight flickered across my mother's photograph, casting soft shadows that made her eyes seem alive again. I stared at the picture frame, the one I polished this morning, and whispered, "Happy birthday, Mom." Outside, the rain had begun its quiet percussion against the window, slow at first, then harder, angrier, like it was echoing something inside me. Every year since she passed, I made her favorite chocolate cake, lit a single candle, and sat in silence at the dining table. I used to think my stepfather Richard joined me because he missed her too. But tonight he hadn't come home yet. And he never missed her birthday. I checked my phone again. 9:42 p.m. A message from him blinked on the screen. Running late. Don't wait up. Big client meeting. A familiar ache pulsed behind my ribs. Client meeting. That was his favorite phrase lately, the convenient, untraceable excuse. Something about it didn't sit right. Maybe it was the way he said don't wait up, like he already knew I would. Or maybe it was just the storm in my chest, whispering what I didn't want to admit, that I didn't trust him anymore. I glanced at Mom's photo again. Her smile, calm, knowing, almost mocked me. She'd always said, "People show you who they are when they think you're not watching." Well, maybe it was time I started watching. The clock struck 10 when I finally picked up my keys. My hands trembled as I zipped my coat and slipped into the night. The rain was relentless now, cold needles against my face, but it grounded me, kept me from shaking apart. Richard's silver Mercedes wasn't in the driveway. Of course it wasn't. I drove aimlessly at first, my mind replaying little things I'd ignored. The perfume that wasn't mine on his shirt last week, the late-night business calls he'd taken in the garage, the new password on his phone. I told myself I was paranoid. He'd been good to me after Mom's death. Patient, caring, the one steady presence when everything else fell apart. He'd paid my college fees, encouraged my writing, called me kiddo with that warm half-smile. But lately that warmth had cooled. And something inside me, something buried under years of grief, was clawing its way to the surface. 10:36 I saw his car. Parked outside the Lantern, a dim, ivy-covered restaurant near the river. He'd taken Mom there once every year for their anniversary. Now he was there without her. Without me. I parked across the street, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my throat. The rain had slowed to a whisper, and the world felt unnaturally quiet. I waited, breathing through the tremors in my hands. 5 minutes later, the restaurant door opened. Richard stepped out, his arm around a woman half his age, tall, elegant, her red coat shining under the streetlights. She laughed, tipping her head back, and he kissed her cheek like it was the most natural thing in the world. My stomach turned. My body froze. It wasn't the first time I'd seen betrayal. I'd lived through it when he cheated on my mother. I was 15 then, too young to understand why she forgave him. "People make mistakes, Claire," she'd said. "But love means giving them a chance to do better." He'd sworn he'd changed. That was the lie that killed her slowly. Not the cancer, not the pain, but the heartbreak that never healed. And here he was again, unchanged. I watched them drive off together, the red coat glowing in the dark like a wound I couldn't look away from. Something inside me snapped. I didn't cry. Not then. I just drove home, every turn sharp, every breath shallow. My reflection in the rearview mirror didn't even look like me anymore. Just someone hollowed out and quietly dangerous. When I entered the house, it felt too quiet, too sterile. His books lined the shelves, The Art of Negotiation, Building Trust in Business, all his trophies of deceit. And then I saw it, Mom's jewelry box. He'd moved it from her dresser to his study months ago, claiming he wanted to keep it safe. The thought made bile rise in my throat. I walked over, opened it, and ran my fingers over her wedding ring. A simple gold band, dull with time. She'd kept wearing it until the day she died, even after knowing his truth. I slid the ring into my pocket. That night I didn't sleep. I sat at my laptop, staring at a blank document for hours. Then slowly words began to form, measured, cold, deliberate. I wasn't sure yet what kind of revenge I wanted. I didn't want to kill him or hurt him physically. I wanted something deeper. Something that would eat away at him the way his lies had eaten away at Mom. He prided himself on being respected. Perfect businessman. A mentor. A man of principles. So I decided to take that away. The next morning I made coffee like nothing had happened. When Richard came downstairs, freshly showered and humming, I forced a smile. "Morning, kiddo." he said, ruffling my hair. Didn't hear you come in last night. I lied easily. Went for a drive. Couldn't sleep. He nodded, distracted, already scrolling through his phone. Big presentation today. Might be late again. Of course. Good luck, I said softly, pretending not to see the lipstick stain on his collar. Faint but there. As soon as he left, I went to his study. His laptop was locked, but his work files were synced to the home system. He'd shown me once, bragging about his efficiency. That arrogance was his weakness. I found the folder labeled Clients 2025. Inside, there were confidential contracts, proposals, and correspondence, some containing unethical adjustments he'd made to inflate profits. Emails that could destroy him if they went public. I copied everything onto a flash drive. My pulse was erratic, my breath uneven, but I felt alive. Mom's voice echoed in my mind, "Don't become bitter, Claire." But I wasn't bitter. I was awake. That afternoon I went to the park, Mom's favorite place. The bench under the oak tree still had her name engraved on the plaque I'd ordered after her funeral. I sat there and stared at the flash drive in my hand, feeling the weight of it, small, metallic, yet heavy with consequences. Could I really do it? Could I expose him and watch everything he built collapse? Part of me still remembered the nights he'd sat beside Mom's hospital bed, holding her hand, crying when he thought no one saw. Maybe he had loved her once. Maybe he loved me in his own warped way. But love without loyalty isn't love. It's convenience. I looked up at the sky, a dull gray sheet pressing down. "Happy birthday, Mom," I whispered. "I think I finally understand you." That evening Richard came home early, unusually cheerful. He brought takeout from the Lantern. "The place you and Mom used to go," I said quietly, eyeing the bag. He froze just for a second. "Yeah. Thought we could have dinner in her memory." I smiled, small, practiced, almost kind. "That's sweet of you." We ate together in silence. The smell of the restaurant clung to him, the same scent I'd smelled on that red-coated woman the night before. He noticed me studying him and chuckled awkwardly. "You okay, kiddo? You look tense." "I'm fine," I said. Then after a pause, "Do you ever think Mom would be proud of you?" He blinked. "Of course. Why would you even?" "No reason." I smiled again, slow and deliberate. "Just wondering." He didn't notice the tiny red light on my phone. I'd been recording since he walked in. That night I stayed up editing a video, clips of him flirting with the woman, thank you restaurant CCTV, easily requested under his business account, screenshots of his emails, and a voiceover I recorded myself. Calm, precise, devastating. By sunrise the video was ready. Title: The Truth About Richard Hale, the man behind Hale Enterprises. I uploaded it anonymously, sent the link to his board members, and waited. As the sun rose higher, the house began to buzz with his phone vibrating non-stop. His voice turned from confident to confused, then furious. He stormed out of his office, eyes wide, face pale. "Claire, did you see what someone posted about me? It's all lies." I looked up from my coffee and said softly, "People show you who they are when they think you're not watching." He froze. For a heartbeat he understood. And that was enough. Richard didn't speak to me for 2 days after that morning. He spent most of his time locked in his study, his voice rising through the walls in muffled bursts, arguing, pleading, shouting into the phone. By the third day the headlines had spread everywhere. Business icon Richard Hale under investigation for corporate fraud. Hale Enterprises faces scandal after anonymous leak. The video had gone viral. The board suspended him. His company's stocks plummeted overnight. He was collapsing in real time, and I watched it happen like a silent witness. Part of me thought I'd feel satisfaction, maybe even relief. But all I felt was emptiness, the kind that eats you alive from the inside. Mom's photo still sat on the mantel, her smile soft, unjudging. I couldn't tell if she'd be proud or disappointed. Maybe both. On the fourth day, he came into the kitchen. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot, his movements slow like he'd aged 20 years. He poured himself a glass of whiskey at 9 a.m. "You did this," he said flatly. His voice was cracked, quiet but certain. I didn't respond. He took a slow sip and looked at me. "I knew you'd find out someday. But I didn't think you'd destroy me." "I didn't destroy you. I said, meeting his eyes. You did that yourself. He gave a hollow laugh. You sound just like her, you know? I froze. She said that once. He stopped himself. After I broke her trust. The silence between us was sharp, heavy with years of unspoken guilt. I almost felt pity. Almost. He took another drink. You think I didn't love your mother? I wanted to scream, but I just whispered. If that was love, I don't ever want it. That evening he left the house. No note, no message. Just gone. I didn't chase him. I let the night swallow him whole. But he wasn't gone for long. The next morning, 2 men from the investigation committee arrived, asking questions. I answered everything calmly, giving them the files I'd found accidentally while organizing his study. They thanked me, and one of them said quietly, "You did the right thing." Right thing. The phrase echoed inside my skull until it lost meaning. I went back to Mom's bench that afternoon. The air was warm, the light soft, almost forgiving. I sat there for hours trying to feel peace, but all I felt was exhaustion. The kind that comes after years of holding yourself together. When my phone buzzed, I almost didn't look. But the name froze me. Richard. A single text. I'm sorry. For everything. Tell her. I tried. I didn't understand what he meant. Tell her? Then it hit me. Mom. My heart clenched. I called him immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic kicked in like fire in my veins. I grabbed my keys and drove, no direction, just somewhere. His car wasn't at home. Not at his office. Then I remembered the lantern. The restaurant was closed when I got there. Lights dim, windows fogged from the inside. His car was parked nearby, engine still warm. I ran toward the river. He was standing near the railing, staring at the dark water. The wind whipped through his hair, his suit jacket fluttering. For a second he looked calm, too calm. Richard. I shouted. He turned slowly. His face was pale, streaked with tears. You shouldn't be here. Don't do this, I said, breathless. He smiled faintly. You gave me what I deserved. I ruined your mother. I ruined you. There's nothing left. I shook my head. You don't get to just disappear. You live with it. That's your punishment. His eyes softened. You're stronger than she was. Don't, I whispered. Don't you dare compare us. But he only nodded, as if hearing something I couldn't. Then he reached into his pocket and held something up. Mom's wedding ring. I kept it, he said quietly. Could never throw it away. Before I could move, he slipped it into the water. And then he followed it. The splash shattered the night. I screamed his name, ran to the edge, but the river had already swallowed him whole. For a moment the world stood still, the rain, the wind, even my heartbeat. Then everything rushed back at once. Sirens, lights, voices. Someone must have called the police. They pulled me back as I trembled, soaked, hysterical. They searched for hours but never found him. Days passed. Weeks. The story dominated the news. The scandal, the suicide, the fall of a man once admired. People whispered his name like a warning. I deleted the video. No one ever traced it to me, though some suspected. I didn't care. The damage was done. What I didn't expect was the guilt. It crept in quietly, patient and persistent, until it filled every quiet space in my life. I thought revenge would bring closure. It didn't. It just changed the kind of pain I carried. I started writing again, not for money, not for escape, but because I needed to pour it somewhere. The words came out raw, ugly, honest. About betrayal, about grief. About how sometimes love rots quietly until there's nothing left but the smell of it. Publishers called it hauntingly beautiful. They didn't know it was all true. A year later, I visited Mom's grave on her birthday again. The sky was pale blue this time, no rain, no storm, just the quiet hum of life going on. I brought flowers, placed them by her headstone, and sat there with my coffee in silence. I did it, Mom, I whispered. He's gone. It's over. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. He wasn't just gone, he was everywhere. In the walls of the house I still lived in. In the echoes of his laughter I couldn't unhear. In the way I'd inherited his temper. His coldness, his ability to smile while lying. Maybe revenge doesn't free you. Maybe it brands you. When I stood to leave, something glinted in the grass near the flowers. A small gold ring dull with age. Mom's ring. My heart stopped. The river had swallowed it. I'd seen it vanish. But there it was, clean polished, waiting. I looked around. No one was there. The world was perfectly still. For a long time I just stood there, holding it in my palm. It was warm, impossibly warm. And in that moment I didn't know if it was forgiveness or a warning. I went home that night and placed the ring back in the jewelry box on his desk, the same one he'd kept it in. Then I closed it, locked it, and for the first time in years I slept without dreams. When I woke up there was an envelope on the table, unmarked, sealed with wax. My name on the front, written in Richard's handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single photograph, me as a child sitting between him and Mom at the park. All of us smiling. On the back, written in his sharp, familiar scrawl, "Tell her I tried. Tell her I never stopped loving you both." A tear slipped down my cheek before I could stop it. I didn't know how the letter got there. Maybe it had been misplaced for years. Maybe someone from the company found it. Or maybe it was his final gift. Either way, I put it in the jewelry box beside the ring. And that's where I keep them both. Reminders of love and betrayal, intertwined forever. It's been 3 years now. My book became a bestseller. They called it the birthday gift. People think it's fiction. But every time someone asks what inspired it, I just smile and say, something I once gave to someone who didn't deserve it. Then I think of Mom, of Richard, of the river that still runs past the lantern, dark and endless. And I whisper almost tenderly, "Happy birthday."